flipping back the calendar to highlight yesteryear's finest while exploring the vast archives in cinema history. This is the Movie Review Rewind podcast on Nashville Movie Dispatch.
Welcome back for another episode of the Movie Review Rewind podcast right here on Nashville Movie Dispatch. I'm your host for the show, the EIC at Sobros Network, Big Natural Stoney Keeley. You can follow me on Twitter at Stoney Keeley, collectively at Sobros Network on all major social media platforms. And of course, all of our work is up at NashvilleMovieDispatch.substack.com. Joined as usual by my co-host on the Movie Review Rewind podcast. He is a board member of the Music City Film Critics Association. He is a member of the Southeastern Film Critics Association. He is our resident film critic here on Nashville Movie Dispatch, Mr. Big Shot himself, Brandon Vick. Brandon, how are you doing on this fine late summer day as the humidity of August is really setting in here in Middle Tennessee?
Not too bad.
Yeah?
I just got back from Pensacola, Florida.
Is that right?
Really beautiful down there.
What took you down there? Business or pleasure?
Well, a little bit of both. I sell shark teeth.
Okay, all right.
And they are just
selling like
swarming
hotcakes.
out. Well, yeah. Well, the sharks themselves are just, they are just biting at the chance to get some flesh. And so it's just the perfect time.
So how do you capitalize on their insatiable hunger for human flesh?
I stand at a safe distance and just throw a wrench at their mouths and try to knock teeth out.
So they're coming at you to eat your flesh, and you knock their teeth out with a wrench.
I'm covered in bloody chickens to try and get them to come to me.
Okay.
And not mess with those other humans.
Yeah.
And then I just...
Because you want the teeth.
Yeah, I just throw a wrench and try to knock them out.
That's like some insane...
not
only
what it's
hand-eye coordination.
Yeah, well, it's like that fair game where you throw the ball and hit those troll things and they fall down.
Like whack-a-mole?
No.
Okay.
Or maybe they're clowns. I don't know what they are. Clearly, I haven't been to a fair in a long time either.
You throw the ball, the little puppet falls over.
Yeah, that's what it was kind of like, but it's their teeth and it's a wrench.
Okay.
So
what's your what's your procurement rate on that? You just got like the shark lunges at you. You've got one shot to get one tooth, or are you like wrestling this thing?
At times, I'm there for a week.
Okay.
So, but yeah, man, I got 5.
The whole week?
Yeah.
Well, what are you turning around and selling those for that makes this worth all the effort?
Oh shit! I got like $35 for like 3 of them.
Okay. So. And you get to enjoy the wonderful beaches of Pensacola.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm glad you're doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got our buddy Brett here back for a month after our Shallow Hal review. We are digging into 1986's Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Brett, this was actually your idea to do this podcast. You're the one that brought this film up. Was there a particular reason why you wanted to relive this one?
You know, this is a movie that I had seen several times. I feel like it's a movie growing up that was kind of just in the atmosphere.
It's one of those films, yeah.
Yeah, like
sure.
and you know, I'd see bits and pieces of it on TV. I'd seen the whole thing through probably 2 or 3 times, but this for this podcast was really probably the first time I really sat down and gave it my full attention. Like
just thinking about it more critically than just having it on in the background kind of deal. Yeah.
It's one of those movies that's almost, you know, there's certain movies growing up that are kind of, it's like this has always existed since the dawn of time.
Yes.
And Ferris Bueller is one of those movies for me.
I would agree with that. Brandon, was this your first time watching it for this show?
No, but it was sort of what Brett was saying. Like, I knew scenes, so you kind of felt like you'd seen it. But I did watch it, and I want to think, and I could be making this up, but I want to think my wife had seen it, And so I watched it within the past 10 years. I sat down and watched it for the first time all the way through. And then, doing this one. So, I probably have only watched it maybe 2 or 3 times, like in total.
This feels like, it's got to be like one of the most universally beloved movies of our lifetime anyway. It's like highly quotable. You got the humor. It's a little nostalgic. It does kind of feel like a good like time capsule of the 1980s. Speaks to the rebellious spirit of our teenage years, the yearning for freedom and independence, the questioning of structure and authority.
Yes, absolutely.
It's relatable, but I think it's a fun little plot, and it's a pretty well written characters. What do you think the secret sauce is for this film? And we'll start with you, Brett. The secret sauce for this film, why it has stood the test of time and been so popular and been such a lovable movie throughout all these years.
I think to some degree it's that it's got that John Hughes magic touch.
Yeah.
That so many of his movies do. That it's, we've talked about this with other movies. When you look at the cast and you look specifically at Matthew Broderick, outside of this movie, there's nothing that tells me, put Matthew Broderick in that role, for the rest of his career.
I agree, yeah.
But this is what people know him as.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially of a certain age. I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think he won a Tony before he did the movie. Like, I think it was in
I'd have to.
I'm sure look at it, but I feel like it was in late 70s. He actually won a Tony for something. But I think you're right. I think it's basically what he's known for. That and Godzilla 2000,
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yes.
And but honestly, I think you either know him as kind of like the young kid that was in the movies or the Tony Award winning stage act. Like, I don't know if there's really an in between. It's funny to me to see that of him play that kind of character because for me, I think of like the Cable Guy. Like, I think of him in those kind of roles where he wasn't, Mr. Cool.
He's the straight man a lot of times. Yeah,
and he plays it really well. And even like, I think he was great in like Only Murders in the Building, which I think was nominated for an Emmy on that. But it is kind of like funny to see him be that like this. I probably shouldn't compare him to this, but it's kind of like maybe he was kind of like the Timothée Chalamet of his day. He's young and cool, and he's playing this rebellious character, and that's what he'd be known for. Well, for the rest of his life, for a generation. But you're talking about where it's quotable and stuff, and I think sometimes imagery, like him in the sunglasses, is instant, and part of it's because it's on the cover as well, and the car. I think the car is like one of the first things people think of. And you're talking about, I was going to have the same answer. It's that John Hughes golden, anything he touches turns to gold kind of thing. And but there's just that spirit and energy in what you were saying, Stoney, of like the rebellion, but also like, and I think you can watch it as if you could be Bueller's age, or you could be kind of like the age we are now. And there is still kind of that, this is kind of, it won't get any more freer than this because adulthood is coming. And whether you know it or not, these days are numbered. Even if, and I think we'll get into this, if you're a shithead,
yes,
it's coming. And I think we all, have kind of experienced, especially in high school and college, I think is probably what it's mostly, we kind of associate that time with. But yeah, it's just, it's nostalgia, but it's very much of like the bygone era of not just filmmaking, but the characters you're watching and the, like you said, the day that, as the day kind of unfolds for him.
He did win a Tony for Best Featured Actor in a Play in 1983 for Brighton Beach Memoirs.
Okay, so it was before he got it. Okay, I remember thinking he had done something. Not that anybody would have recognized him for it. But that kind of could put your name up there when you know, especially, I mean, he won that 3 years before Bueller came out, so he's pretty damn young.
I did not realize he was in Manchester by the Sea.
I didn't either, and I don't know what he played, but I saw that and I forgot.
He played Jeffrey. There's a lot of stuff in his filmography that I'm just not familiar with. But I will say I loved him showing up in 2023's No Hard Feelings.
Yes, I love that. And who was the wife? She was famous too.
Yeah, I
thought they were both. I thought they were both funny, especially when he has that awkward conversation. It's so silly. But I always think of the cable guy, Inspector Gadget, I guess.
Yeah,
not that those are good movies. I just mean like that. Now I did like the Cable Guy. I don't want to be misquoted here. I do think the Cable Guy is a funny movie.
He was a voice in B-Movie. He's in
he was. Yeah.
Deck the Halls.
No, well.
The Producers, The Stepford Wives.
I forgot my Stepford Wives.
Inspector Gadget. Oh, Election. How could we forget Election?
Okay, that's what I should have think of first.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely. Yeah, the Cable Guy.
But it's still not this role. It's more in Election. It's more that kind of straight-laced.
That's he kind of typecast himself as he got older, to be on in kind of the mood and the mannerisms and his delivery.
And I think that's some of the John Hughes magic, that it's just the movie all works, the script all works, and the cast, though, you know, looking at the full picture of his career, you might not say, if we were going back to do this and we just had a clean slate, let's put Matthew Broderick in this. Yeah. It works great.
And I mean, he's at that precise age that, I mean, he could have all those feelings while they're filming. And I think as he got older, I kind of feel like that's like Election and Cable Guy. Like, I feel like that's probably more of just who he is. And there's still a comedy style to that. But this one was like, I mean, teen angst, like, but I do think there's probably some other movies around the 80s and stuff that he did that I'm sure he probably had that kind of reputation. And then one day, you know, it's like, oh, okay, I'm not a kid anymore. So,
well, you guys both mentioned John Hughes. He actually, in reference to the casting of Matthew Broderick, he was in mind when Hughes wrote the script, calling Broderick clever and charming, talking about his unique qualifications to pull this character off.
I think he's always kind of carried that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point, because though I'm the one that keeps saying this doesn't really fit what he does the rest of his career, that style of comedy is what he does.
Yeah.
You know, kind of these like kind of quirky one-liners and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and there's a lot of expression in his face that he'll do that I think is he's always done. Like, it's always been Matthew Broderick, no matter how, you know, whatever role or whatever age.
So that said, there were other actors considered for the role of Ferris Bueller, and I'm curious.
Billy Bob Thornton.
I'm curious to hear what you guys think of
Toby Jones.
These names, if it would have been the same movie. Again, think about the times. Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, that's who I was going to say, just because he's young.
Fits.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise.
In the 80s? Yeah, okay, that's risky business, Tom Cruise.
George Clooney. Don't know what he's doing.
I think
in 86.
Is that no? I know he had a mullet on Roseanne, but I don't even know what year that was.
That was 90s,
early
wasn't it?
90s, probably.
Johnny Depp.
Okay, well, that's Elm Street, 21 Jump Street.
Jim Carrey.
Oh,
which feels like a totally different movie.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it is the late 80s. John Cusack.
Oh, I say like Corey Feldman. That John Cusack, I can kind of maybe get behind.
I feel like that John Cusack has the same kind of energy as Matthew Broderick
it's that
in this
say
role.
anything kind of deal.
And like I could see it with like the facial expression, some of the like, I don't want to say dry delivery, but the straight-laced kind of delivery of matter-of-factness.
Yeah. I don't know if I really see Michael J. Fox.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that or John Cusack. I'm not the other ones. Honestly, Jim Carrey's the one that really just kind of
that feels weird.
That
Yes.
doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
No matter, I don't care how old he is.
The idea of John Cusack's interesting because I was just looking up to make sure I had this right. This was before Say Anything. So it feels like he could have done it, but then would Say Anything have been a thing?
Well,
Because it
probably
feels like
not.
that would have been too close.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I don't see him doing both. I guess, and I don't think Matthew Broderick could be in Say Anything. So, again, one of those where it all works out. But I could see Michael J. Fox because he is, in a way, that's kind of like the Back to the Future character, sort of like. There's rebellious in a way. I mean, there's differences, obviously, but I could see him basically put on Matthew Broderick's clothes, and I think you got a pretty good. I mean,
I think he could do it. I wonder if it would be
Teen
as.
Wolf.
I wonder if it would be as iconic as it is because it's such a solo moment for Matthew Broderick. That
that's true.
if Michael J. Fox did it, I think he could have pulled it off. But you've also got that lump together with Back to the Future
would have
and
been
other things.
Like
Well,
just
no,
another,
that's true, too.
another series of those roles.
Yes.
Like
That's
this
true.
is what he does.
and it really stands alone because of Matthew Broderick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was all moot anyway because John Hughes wrote the script with Matthew Broderick in mind, and he got his guy.
God is doing.
Yeah. So talking a little bit more about Hughes, wrote this script in a week. In a week,
Wow.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off was done. Editor Paul Hirsch on the film was quoted as saying, like, having the story as sort of episodic, taking place in one day, meant the characters were wearing the same clothes. I suspect that Hughes writes his scripts with few, if any, costume changes, just so he can have that kind of freedom while editing. When this thing was originally shot, it was 2 hours and 46 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
It was almost 3 hours. And the approach was to cut stuff out after it's editing instead of rewriting and reshooting stuff on down the road. And I think that's where we see movies sometimes get into a little bit of troubles. Like it almost feels like a stigma when you read a report saying, well, this movie is undergoing reshoots, or this thing has been rewritten and now, they're back doing stuff for it again. This almost feels like a much safer approach to filmmaking because, it's safe. You have the characters in the same clothes, but it's like the foresight to do that, knowing let's just make what we have in the script and then we'll trim out whatever we need to. But it's still a coherent story that doesn't feel like things are getting messy. And I thought that was such an interesting takeaway from this film because it is something that I think does kind of feel like one episode of a show almost to a certain extent, and that it is safer. You're not sacrificing any sort of quality by just cutting things out that way.
I'm curious to know if that was unique to this film or if that was his process more often than not.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the editor on this film said, I suspect that he writes his scripts with few, if any, costume changes. So,
Well, I mean, you have to think. The Breakfast Club is sort of all in
It's
one.
a self-contained, yep.
I don't know if 16 Candles. That's not the case. But when he said that, I immediately thought of Breakfast Club because you basically, like you said, it's kind of just a one location, and it's kind of throughout the day. I mean,
well, and it's easy to see, like you're saying, Stoney, how it comes out in a better end result because you're whittling down from a completed product rather than this Frankenstein's monster of disjointed adding things.
I will say to still make that coherent is still a risk because if you're not going to go back and get anything, then you've got to make damn sure you got all of it, and then whatever you're going to take out can't affect the beats of each scene and the way the storytelling goes. But that is pretty clever because it's not like, I guess in a way, it's not like you couldn't use those shots or scenes because of like, he was wearing a jacket over there, and then if he wasn't, then he wore the blue. Like, at least you're kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, it's not like I'm sure there's some things that you have to keep with continuity, but I mean, just you can do something in a day and place them basically in the same stuff. I think you can also get away with a lot more. So even if they did trim it up, some stuff's probably not as noticeable because everything, I mean, it's in a day, so it looks like, the changes they made, I don't think would have stuck out because of the way that they shot it. But good for him. That's smart. Did it in a week and then shot everything and then made that. So good for him.
Yeah, and
because it's an hour and 30-something minutes, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty short.
Yeah, from what I read, it was mostly like extraneous scenes from like cutting bits out of specific shots, like the scene in the museum. There was a lot that was cut out of that because it didn't test well in test screenings, but not like critical to the plot kind of stuff. Is just almost like cutting out the fluff.
They got the good stuff
and getting it to a real tight hour and a half. That
just did some trimming.
Yeah, it just that to me was just like that's a level of attention to detail that I don't feel like. I don't know. I haven't heard about that often when we discuss these films and how they're made. And
I guess that I am curious if he kind of always sort of tried to do that, or I mean, like everything, did he get that from someone else that was making movies 30 years before him?
Yeah,
but it's smart. It's smart.
He called the film his love letter to the city of Chicago. And
that makes sense.
I kind of caught that. Around. I kind of caught that watching this for the first time. Was like,
well, they're playing tourists.
Yeah, man, so and like the shots of Chicago, they're kind of broad, sweeping shots of the city.
There's definitely an enchantment about as you kind of go along.
And I think that is a good quality for a film to have, where the setting is a sort of character in its own right.
Oh yeah.
How do you guys feel that the location enhanced the film and Hughes's approach to making sure people knew that was Chicago?
Oh, I mean, one, I think it was very effective, and two, like I said, I think it is kind of enchanting. If you're in love with a city that you're from and grew up in, you want to kind of show it off a bit.
Yeah.
So what better thing than to have them basically take you to the best spots? And like they go to a Cubs game. I mean, they're doing everything that, we've done when you go to Chicago.
Yeah, and some of those iconic moments, the parade scene, is in downtown Chicago. So you can't separate those in your mind, the location and the action that's taking place.
Yeah, absolutely. Another big thing is the fourth wall breaking in this film. Several times that Ferris looks directly into the character. Looks directly into the camera and talks to us. There's a spoof of this scene in one of the Deadpool movies too. I can't remember. It's like a post-credit scene or something. But it's kind of an homage to like all the fourth wall breaking in Deadpool is like, hey, this is Ferris Bueller, basically.
Oh, yeah.
But what do you guys think about that? Effective way to kind of provide perspective? Like it does kind of allow us to see the events unfolding in this film through the lens that Ferris sees them. Or is this something that kind of distracts you guys and takes you out of the story a little bit?
It's one of those things that's, watching the movie now at this point is such a common thing to be done in films. But trying to kind of transport yourself to that being a very uncommon and a new way of storytelling, I think that's what I appreciate most about it. It kind of setting the table, even like what you're talking about with Deadpool. Like, we are used to that kind of thing happening in a TV show or a movie now. It would have not been so common then at all. And so I think it's definitely, it takes you out of the movie, but in a purposeful and effective way to kind of, you're out of the scene, but you're still in the movie because you're with the character who's telling the scene. So
yeah, it's a tonal thing for me. It's like, if this isn't meant to be some like drama where you're hanging on every word and every little facial expression means something, like you're doing more of the acting through that sort of visual medium. It's Ferris Bueller's Day Off, so go nuts with it, have fun as far as I'm concerned. It
gives the audience a level of buy-in of, I'm a part of this. He's talking to me.
Yeah, sure.
And sure. I get to be a part of this. And I think that adds to the enjoyment of the moments as well.
That's what I was going to say, is that I feel like from the beginning, that's your invite. Because you're about to go along on this journey with him and the people he drags into it. And you're kind of along for the ride. So it's very effective. And like you said, it can't always be used, just like it can't always be used now, but it works. And he is basically your tour guide, and he's also your narrator. I mean, it just makes sense that he's basically telling you what's going on. Now, you don't have to agree with everything that's happening, but he's the one that you're going to get. Whatever information you get, you're going to get it from him first. And yeah, I think it's a nice invite to the kind of movie that Ferris Bueller is.
So let's talk about some of the themes of the film, because I do think it's kind of a quintessential, like, rebellious teen spirit kind of movie. But I do think it also kind of touches on, like, the value, the importance of, like, especially at that age, not losing yourself to conformity for the sake of conformity. Ferris Bueller very much values the freedom of choice, the independence of oneself, that sort of thing. And I think there is, and to be such a silly movie, I think there is a nice little message about independence and coming of age and growing into your own kind of theme in this film that really has some heart added to the story.
Yeah, I felt like it was like, even though, like, I mean, he was popular because the whole thing was that his sister was basically jealous of him, which it plays against the dynamic of brother and sister. And, it kind of seems like she's always kind of, oh, leave him alone. And listen, he's a cunning guy. Like, he's outsmarted basically everyone throughout most of the day, which clearly he didn't learn just today that when we went on. So, he's popular. He kind of has it figured out, but at the same time, and I don't really know if John Hughes kind of set out for this, but, like, you kind of know that it won't last forever. Like, it will catch up with him. Like, it works now, but in the real world, it won't. Like, like, and I don't know if it's just because I'm watching at the age I am now or what, but it is. But it kind of goes back to the basic of this is youth revolt, and it's also about kind of enjoying these days because you'll blink and they're gone. Or, even like the time with his sister and stuff like that, and what high school is, or with his high school sweetheart or his best friend. And I mean, it's all kind of there. I like Alan Ruck's character because I feel like he's the one that's like kind of is able to kind of break through a bit and more like not wants to be Ferris Bueller, but he also understands kind of what his friend represents. And it's not that everybody can do it, but I felt like his character kind of, in his own way, kind of breaks through. And, of course, a lot of it is built around the car. So, but I liked it. I didn't even realize, like, I knew she looked familiar, and I looked it up while I was watching it again, but I realized that, like, his sister's Jennifer Grey, who's, Dirty Dancing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I think that dynamic you're pointing to shines through in those relational pieces. He and his sister, there's the whole thing throughout that Brandon mentioned of she just wants justice, basically. She wants him to finally get his. But at the end of the movie, there's this moment where they kind of recognize each other and what the other one is doing for them. And they kind of accept each other as they are. And kind of there's this unspoken kind of mutual respect for one another, which I think rings very true to life experiences in a lot of way. And I think that also comes through in his relationship with his girlfriend, that, they both have this idea that they're going to get married. And again, as people in their late 30s watching that, we can say they're probably not getting married.
Not gonna make it.
But they believe it. They believe it all the way.
Yeah,
in
I'm
that
sure
moment.
they do. Yeah. And I think it is. I think it's pretty impressive. And of course, I think this kind of goes with any of these ones that really kind of just have made their place in cinema history, is that you can recognize and you can relate, and you can be in your 20s or your 30s or your 40s or your, like, you know it. You also, in a way, what those characters don't know, but you get, like, you miss that too, because how was it to be that, like, I mean, when you're in high school and stuff, you're not thinking about bills or, healthcare or, I mean, you don't care.
Yeah.
Politics mean nothing. The world means nothing to you.
Well,
so
finish your thought. I'm
well,
sorry.
no,
I didn't mean to cut
but
you off.
I also think the movie being in the 80s, it's also of a bygone era that we'll never get to experience. Like, you'll never get, the city's not like that anymore. Like, it's such a blast from the past in so many ways, but it also makes it so enjoyable because it is a simpler time.
Yeah.
But so is, at that age, with that kind of tunnel vision, it's always a simpler way of life.
So you mentioned, like, being able to relate to the story. Like, one of the most famous quotes from the film is, "Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it." And I think, to your point, that's something that still resonates with me at 39 years old, the same way it did when I was 20 years old.
I think
will
it
probably hit the same when I'm however old I am before I die.
Do you find? I find that means more the older you get.
Yeah, for sure. And I think
because you don't think, and that's kind of what Ferris Bueller is. You're not, like, for him to say that, because most time when you're there, that's not what you're thinking. There's always like you can't wait to get out of high school or go on to do this or that, and you're in your teens, you're in your 20s, but that resonates more now. Like, as you've gotten older and as you get married, you have a family, like, you're like, it does, like, if you don't take time, you will wake up and you'll be, old.
Yeah.
And then dead. In that order.
That's what I'm saying, man.
But yeah, it's funny because they have those guess that line. And if you go to the movie theater as much as some of us do, that's one of them, is can you guess? There's the Sandlot one, there's the Beetlejuice one, and there's the Ferris Bueller one.
So you mentioned Alan Ruck's performance as Cameron.
Yeah.
Yeah. Essayist Steve Almond, which Hall of Fame name, shout out to Steve Almond, applauded Alan Ruck's performance, even insinuated that he should have been nominated for the Best Supporting Actor award at the Oscars, saying, quote, "His performance is what elevates the film, allows it to assume the power of a modern parable." And I think there is something that you said in there talking about his character where he is sort of like the gravity to this film that kind of keeps Ferris's character from just being completely off the chain. I liked Alan Ruck in this. It took me a minute to realize that's Connor Roy out there.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
I really liked him in this movie, and I do think he kind of grounds the story in a way.
I don't believe the Oscar stuff, but I agree that he is kind of the anchor to it all, and I think it's because he, as even Ferris's best friend, recognizes this is insane, and I mean it could be dangerous. And so I kind of feel like, in a sense, he's kind of what I think a normal person would probably think of the situation, more than like, oh, the girlfriend is in love and oh, they got her out, and but you're right. He reins Ferris in a bit too, because there's a point where, depending on those you surround him with, the character Ferris Bueller could be too outlandish or unlikable, or just kind of like a goof.
He's a dick.
So yeah,
he's kind of a dick. He's kind of a pretentious, arrogant dick.
And so,
and I hate him.
So Cameron really plays an important part in still making Ferris Bueller seem human.
Yeah.
And he is young and dumb. So
yeah.
I think I saw it on Letterboxd. Somebody was talking about this being Cameron's movie, which I think what you're saying, Stoney, is an interesting, because it's the point you just made, Brandon, that Ferris is not a real person. Cameron is. Like,
yes,
Cameron has
most of us.
Cameron has problems at home.
Yeah.
Cameron has a life that he wants to get away from in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Cameron doesn't, at that age, know what he wants to do next, and doesn't have a plan for everything. And to some degree, like I was thinking about this earlier with the relational piece, at that age, I mean, we're talking about Ferris is kind of a terrible person in a lot of ways. Like, at that age, oftentimes your friends are not your friends because they're the best people in the world to you. They're the people that are closest in proximity in your neighborhood or whatever. And that's just kind of who you spend time with. And I think Cameron's experience is a very normal one that a lot of people can resonate with.
Yeah, for sure. That's an interesting perspective I hadn't considered before. But yeah, there is that. When you're younger, you're kind of more friends with who's around you than picking out sterling characters.
Well, and I think it kind of goes back to where, like, will they be friends 30 years from now?
Yeah.
Like, when you have these choices, when you have these options, when you see the world outside of Chicago.
Yeah.
And it's all normal. It is, as crazy as the day is, it does resonate, and it's a slice of life.
Yeah. One thing's for sure, Cameron should have beat Ferris Bueller's ass.
Well, he might could have towards the end, but he couldn't have done it at the beginning.
Well, that's true, but he should have.
But he could have.
He was sick at the beginning.
Yeah, that's right.
What about that principal?
What about him?
I do think, speaking of him, I think some of the comedy stood up pretty well in this movie.
Yeah.
However many years later, and that was a little bit. As a kid, you don't get a lot of the jokes watching this, however, in bits and pieces. But I actually thought, like, his piece and some of the other just, straight comedy parts of the movie really still
like more
work.
The slapstick stuff, too?
Yeah.
I like to bring him up because he got in trouble for child porn.
Isn't because he's the
because he's in Beetlejuice,
the dad in Beetlejuice.
Yep. And I mean, he was in that was just the 80s, because I think he worked with Tim Burton. I think he's in Edward Scissorhands,
and this is why he was not in Beetlejuice.
That's why he died a gruesome death in Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice. I think he might still be alive, the real guy. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's why he wasn't going to come back. What was he? Sleepy Hollow.
Oh yeah.
I was trying to think, what's another Tim Burton one, because I can see him.
Yeah.
In the thing, but and honestly, I mean, that neither here nor there for in 1986 in the role he played, but it's really tough to look at some of these actors back then and then think like, obviously you associate like Alan Ruck and Matthew Broderick with them, but then you have like those kind of people where it's like, man, how did you go from these? I mean, he was a character actor, as they would say, very recognizable and working with, I mean, pretty good people, but I will never forget. Now, obviously, he had not been in many movies when that news broke, but when I saw that picture, I could not believe that was like that dude from Beetlejuice. It was crazy, but I don't know if he's alive or not anymore.
You guys kind of we're dancing around this potential topic that I'll get your take on, but
yeah, what kind of segue are we getting into?
I was kind of digging into like, what are the criticisms of this film? Like the people that didn't enjoy it, what did you not like about it? And one of the things that people brought up was like the portrayal of adults in this film is either like complete morons that are just clueless, have no idea what's going on, or just like lame ass robots that are like they're out to get Ferris, like the principal, or like the parents that are just completely oblivious to what's going on here. I don't really know what the heart of this criticism is like somebody old probably wrote it. It was like, hey, don't make fun of us old people. Like we're not all stiffs like this movie makes us out to be. But I do think it's interesting to look back at it and think like a lot of this is from Ferris's perspective. So that probably is how most adults look to a kid like Ferris Bueller.
Yep.
So tonally speaking, I feel like it's actually a strength of the film.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a clever bit of writing there.
That was kind of my thought too, is like that's how they see adults.
Yeah.
Like that's
what is the unintended consequence of this? Do you think teenagers are watching this and thinking all adults suck?
I mean, teenagers are probably thinking that anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
isn't that really kind of the
I'm just saying
common...
I don't quite get this criticism. I get what they're trying to say, but I don't get why that hurts the film.
I was going to say again, who are you, who's talking to you? Who are you following? It's the teens. So you're not they're not going to paint. I mean, I feel like that's like in like Saving Private Ryan. Like, well, why are all those Nazis bad? Well, who were fighting. I mean, it's just the adults are the enemies in this movie. That I've thought that was pretty clear.
Yeah. There's also some stuff out there. Some people got really serious with it, started talking about Reagan era economics and the indulgence of capitalism, striving for, the Ferrari.
That was on my mind a lot as I watched it.
The fine dining and that sort of stuff, which we don't have to get into. But, I can at least see that. Like if you're painting a picture for a younger, impressionable audience, maybe don't teach them to value those sorts of things. But again, like it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off, so I don't take much issue with it. Ferris Bueller obviously becomes a pop culture icon throughout the years. One of the most quotable movies, we've talked about that, was actually mentioned in Barbara Bush, First Lady Barbara Bush's commencement address at Wellesley College back in 1990. She said, quote, "Find the joy in life because as Ferris Bueller said on his day off, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it." Responding to the audience's enthusiastic applause, she added, "I'm not going to tell George you clapped more for Ferris Bueller than you clapped for him."
Whoa.
So, those are my notes on Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
They clapped more for Ferris than they did for HW?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I thought that was a nice little touch, but a testament to just the sprawling nature of this movie, how many people it touched, how ingrained in the conscious of Americana it became.
I don't really want to end it on this, but...
Well, I've got one more.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, we're good.
Jeffrey Jones is his name.
Yeah.
The principal.
Mm-hmm.
and it was about child pornography and explicit photos of a minor. However, he continued to work up until 2019. He was in the Deadwood movie.
Are you kidding
and
me?
So he's actually hasn't done anything, but it hasn't been as long as I thought it was, because he was in animated stuff. He was in this Jude Law, Nicole Kidman movie. And it was like 2014, 2018, Deadwood movies 2019. And I think all this happened in like early 2000s.
Dang.
So that's crazy. And like, I just read where like 250 hours of community service because he failed to update the sex offenders registry. But the fact that he was like still making movies.
That seems like a bit of an oversight.
I guess he didn't get canceled after all.
Yeah.
So,
man.
Anyway, but
that's pretty wild.
But what's your question?
So I would like to ask you, gentlemen, if you had the perfect day off, what would it be?
God. I mean,
I'm going to sleep in.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm going
to sleep in until 8.
I'm going to have a big breakfast. I'm going to enjoy my cup of coffee.
I think I'd like to have Waffle House.
Oh, yeah, that sounds nice.
I never have it. My wife hates it.
I will take a book to the Waffle House. Maybe the latest issue of Better Homes and Gardens.
Yep.
And I will read, enjoy a little bit of solitude, and then maybe I'm going to go play some disc golf, and then I will go to a used bookstore, and then I'll finish the day at a brewery trying multiple beers until I have to call my wife to come pick me up.
I have a question. Sorry to get difficult. Am I a diabetic in this day?
Perfect. No, you don't have to be.
Okay. I would like 2 Krispy Kreme donuts. One that is chocolate cream filled. Sleep in till 8. It's just enough time. A double feature.
Hey, there we go.
Double feature. Well,
okay.
well. Sometimes when I do have the day off, that's what I do. I mean, that's about it. I mean, let's be honest. I can't have a day without my wife and son. So, I mean, they've got to be there eventually. I love the zoo. Let's put the zoo in there. Double feature, a zoo. So, zoo's probably afternoon. I'm a pizza guy. So, I would like a pizza, a stuffed crust pizza.
Yeah. What do you think our teenage versions of us would hear or would think if they heard us describing the perfect day?
Would they want to fight us like we want to fight Ferris Bueller?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
We would have sounded like idiots.
Like, who is
nice
this
little
old...
Saturday?
I don't know. I'm going to tell you, I don't, you know what? I mean, maybe besides like just finding out that I was married and I'm a dad, but double feature wouldn't have sounded crazy. Pizza stuffed crust wouldn't have sounded crazy. For lunch, I would have had a family size of spicier nacho Doritos and Code Red Mountain Dew. I mean, there's really not a whole. I probably wouldn't have been too shocked.
I'll still do that.
Yeah, Krispy Kreme donut. I mean, for the most part, I've been like, oh, I didn't change that much. But then what would happen is I'm surprised because I talk about that day. And then I find out that I actually am a diabetic.
You go back to being.
That's what.
You go back to being diabetic the next day with everything from the day before in your system still.
Right. So my perfect day leads to me being in a wheelchair because I don't have my legs.
No, they have to cut your feet off.
So
the
what
next
a day!
day.
What a day!
What would your earlier self have thought of Jeffrey Jones? You don't have to.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I probably would have.
You would have known him as the dad from Beetlejuice.
I would have felt. Well, I don't know because this all happened, I guess, around when we graduated high school. From my research.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I would have made some real cool jokes.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
That no one could record.
Mm.
So,
yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, double feet. I mean, just some of the stuff I like, but that I either don't do that often or something like that. I mean, I don't need anything crazy because I feel like if you kind of do the whole like well, I'll fly here and I'll go here and then I'll visit this guy. That's not a day. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I might go to Gatlinburg.
I also like to sleep in my own bed.
Yeah,
I mean,
me too.
You know,
man.
I don't want my day to be in a hotel.
I'm gonna take my MacBook. I'm gonna post up at a brewery, a winery. I'm gonna write some poetry.
Does the rest of the world? I mean, in this day, does the rest of the world like Americans? I don't know. I could be going into a hostile environment.
That's true.
So I'll just mosey around Opry Mills.
Are there tariffs?
Yeah, 'cause that'll screw you up. But remember, the next day your life starts again. So be careful.
Yeah. What's your perfect day, Brett?
You know, I feel like I'm giving a boring answer on this, but I might stay at home. I mean, I might not. I have done what Brandon said. If I know like my wife and kids are going to be gone, I will buy tickets to multiple movies in a row and try to puzzle piece it together to walk out of one and walk into another. And
what am I going to do for lunch?
That is enjoyable. I do like that.
Yeah.
I would eat some Mexican food in there somewhere.
And your second movie has to get out before the traffic. So, these things still matter in this perfect day.
Separate that we're elder millennials in these
things
days.
still matter in my day off.
Oh, boy.
Because if I got to sit in traffic for an hour on my perfect day, I'm pissed.
Yes.
What have we become? What have we become?
I don't know. I think we sound pretty normal.
Approaching 40 quickly.
Yeah. In case people can't tell.
In case people think we're 50.
As I've heard someone say, life moves pretty fast.
Yeah, hell yeah, it does.
It's a fantastic note to end on. That is going to do it for us. Unless you guys have any parting thoughts, anything we didn't get to.
That was a perfect ending.
That is going to do it for
home.
us here on another episode of the Movie Review Rewind podcast. As a reminder, check out all of our work at NashvilleMovieDispatch.substack.com. Subscribe to Nashville Movie Dispatch wherever you take in your podcasts. For Brett and for Brandon, I'm Stoney, and until next time, you stay classy, moviegoers.